You're listening to the Be Better Off Show by Kelly+Partners.
Well, welcome James Symond. He's the CEO of Aussie Home Loans, great friend of mine, someone I very much admire to the Be Better Off Show. Good morning.
Good morning, Brett. How are you, pal?
Mate, I'm great. I was very keen to catch up with you so that our clients could hear your story and get the benefit of your wisdom during this crisis in particular as to what you're seeing out there. But let me start with the Aussie Home Loans story. I meet John Symond in 1997 at the Octagon Centre in Parramatta to interview him for my first book, which actually I have over there on the shelf. I'll pull that out. And he says, he struck me as a good guy, and he said some great things to me. And his little quote's on the front here. You know, when God gives you a gift, he wraps it in a problem, and providing you're strong enough to get rid of the wrapping, the rewards will be yours. Now that's the sort of inspirational boss I guess you've worked with from the beginning. But tell us the Aussie story. How did you end up there, and what's happened since?
Yeah, Brett, I'm real fortunate. 28 years ago, just over 28 years ago, I'd left school and got my real estate agent's license. In fact, I think I went to the same school as you did.
Yep.
St. Patrick's College in Strathfield for my sins. And I'd left school. It was the early 90s, so we were in a recession. Things were tough. My uncle was going through tough times. Didn't go bankrupt, but I think he basically lost it all. He gave me a call and said, "Look, I'm starting up a company called Aussie Home Loans. And can you come and give me a hand for a week?" I was 19 years of age. What did I know? I said, sure. So, a week turned into a month turned into over 28 years. So it's a story that started pretty innocently. We started as a non-bank lender. I had an uncle with a vision. There were five of us who started, and many years ago. And we started as a non-bank lender to give a better deal to consumers. John had secured some funding, had reduced margins, had a concept of going to people's homes 7 days a week, providing service, stood on his fruit box and basically screamed out loudly of, wanting to do a better deal for consumers. So we were one of the first retail, if not the first retail non-bank lenders out there. Who securitized residential mortgages for mums and dads. We evolved into being a mortgage broker in 2003. We evolved into opening up stores in 2005. And today we do a couple of $1 billion plus a month in new home loans. We have about 1,000 brokers today. We have 220 stores and growing strongly today. We have a trusted household brand today. We're owned by Commonwealth Bank today, which is exciting. I mean, obviously being Australia's largest bank, but we're certainly very much arm's length to how they run their business. Mortgage broking is 65% of all the flows of home loans in Australia today. So six and a half out of 10 of every Australians who get a home loan through a mortgage broker. So it's a category that didn't exist 20 years ago. And it's a category that's growing very, very strongly because of consumer satisfaction today. So we're proud to be Australia's largest retail mortgage broker, and it's a very exciting industry to still be in.
So James, you go to work for John, your uncle. Mm-hmm. What is it that you think, right from those early stages, what is it about you guys that meant that this vision that was, outsized and different, what do you put it down to as winning where others didn't?
I don't know. I mean, it's we look at two or three things. One thing that we've always really stuck to our knitting. We've always stuck to our knitting of try to sell home loans and try to be damn good about it, number one. We've always tried to keep the customer front of mind. And people talk about that, and people, say, about customer and so forth. But, we provide clear actions of how we do that and how we try to remain in front of the customer's mind, try to remain in contact with the customer. Even for me, as recently jumping on, before this whole COVID bit, jumping on headsets and sitting in call centers, and as I do on a regular basis, listening to customers, new customers, customer complaints, interacting with customers as best we can, try to keep our feet on the street as best we can, and making sure we keep it real. Culture's a big thing for us. What do they say? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. So culture for us is a huge thing. We run a family style business, not a family business, but a family style business, where we understand that the people that you've got to work with are the people that you should also like, the people that you also want to be with during the day. You'll get the most out of people if they enjoy working together, enjoy working in an environment that is that's awesome, as most as best as can be. So there's a whole bunch of things that make up what makes up a great company. Whether it's it's the leadership style, whether it's the culture, whether it's the vision. At the end of the day, it's the group of people that come together. If you get the right group of people and maintain the right group of people ongoing, it makes all the difference in the world.
That's a good point. Now, over a 28-year journey, you start with 5 people, and I'm a huge believer and advocate that the right people in your business are the business and are the secret sauce, if you like. But over that journey of a long period of time now, you must have seen people that you thought were the right people that turned out not to be the right people, and people that you thought weren't right people turned out to be the right people. How is your sense of people and what it is that makes somebody I guess an Aussie high performer?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether we'll ever get it right in terms of when you interview people. I've interviewed a zillion people in my life, and it's amazing how you'll walk away from certain people and certain interviews, and you'll hire certain people and you'll go, they are a 10 out of 10 Aussie person. Their cultural fit, their intellect, their smarts, and they end up just blowing up and failing. And then yet others that you go, look, they'll be okay, end up being superstars. Yeah. So this whole piece of interviewing people and then getting it right and going, you know what, they're going to be a star, or they're going to be the right people. We still haven't got it right yet. And I'm not sure anyone has it perfect. Humans are different, and humans also sell themselves differently when they're in an interview situation. It's not until they're in the heat of the battle you understand what their metal's made of. So it's the test of time. But we have people that have been working with us as franchisees for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years plus. We have team members and senior executives and so forth who have been with us for more than a couple of decades. This is extraordinary stuff. So not only do we take on brand new people with brand new blood and brand new ambition, but we have people who are seasoned veterans who understand the DNA of the business, and having that cross selection of people really helps within the culture of the business.
Yeah. So the innovation and the continuity and trying to keep that all moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and when you talk about innovation, and I think that's the hard thing about having someone like me who's been there for 28 plus years, to keep on reinventing yourself, to keep on doing things that are different, to not get lazy, to still remain excited, to still remain disciplined and focused. These are all the things that you need to do in order to, continually to be successful, in what you do. It's very easy to make a couple of dollars, and very easy to rest on your laurels and just sit back and go, now I've done it. Let's just see, if the wave continues. Or do you just keep on reinventing? Do you keep on reinventing? Do you keep on reinventing? Which is obviously what you've got to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. I started my career in 1993 on the back of the last recession, and I've always believed that by being in the heat of that scenario, it just gave me a sense of how hard things could be, and a work ethic and a sort of sense of seriousness of purpose. And we now land in the middle of another crisis. The GFC was a financing crisis as much as anything, whereas this is a genuine you
Health.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
well, in health and now obvious, economic and
Yeah.
recession crisis. What do you say, culturally, you guys came out of that last recession um, with obviously real determination and a leader who was focused on
Yeah.
rebuilding. What are you seeing now? The heat of battle, you mentioned, you see,
Yeah.
who you really are. What are the lessons that you're seeing that you feel like you're picking up right now?
So interesting, though, just to go back a second, and we did come from a recession, and we knew exactly what it means to run a lean, mean business. And I remember when I was 19 years of age, one of my first jobs was I went out and John gave me $20, and I went out to Budget Bob's Rentals in Parramatta and bought secondhand stationery. Bundled stationery, big boxes, and paper clips were in one box and rubber bands were in another. And I spent the next 2 days sorting them out and putting them in little boxes and then putting them on the shelf so the staff didn't think that we couldn't afford new stationery. The things that we did in those days, and for many years, we didn't make a profit. I mean, mortgage businesses are annuity businesses, so it takes years to make a decent profit. So we spent years being, running a lean, mean machine. Today things are different, but we never forget that DNA. So we know where we came from, and we know what these small business operators that we have, our franchisees who are getting their businesses up and running, we understand what they go through, during these times, it's a time to reflect on that and to go, okay, if you need to bellow out and bellow in with your business, what do you do? And, it's, the last thing you do is, first thing that people do is touch their marketing budgets, it's the last thing you do is touch your marketing budgets, subject to the marketing budgets, subject to the fact that they're driving actual calls, which are driving sales. That's the last thing you touch. You touch other things around that that can help curb your costs first.
Yeah. And then in terms of building business in this climate?
Yeah, look, these are some of the best climates in which to build a business upon. If you can build a business during these climates, sort of climate, you'll soar during better climates. They say never let a good crisis go to waste, and that's exactly what we're going through here right now. It's during these sort of climates in which ingenuity and innovation comes to the forefront. Look at the digital things that are happening around the traps at the moment. And, it's like in my industry, it was taking so long to get, signatures, digital signatures approved, back and forth. And all of a sudden, COVID comes and digital signatures are approved. It was taking so long to do perform a number of activities. And I'm not talking weeks, I'm talking years. And all of a sudden, because of COVID, bang, one hit. Never let a good crisis go to waste. So, it's amazing when people have to do things, they will do things from a business point of view, from a consumer point of view as well.
So when you get a young person into your business or a newer franchisee into your business, what are the things that from an Aussie perspective, obviously you've got great systems and processes, great brand in the market, but at a personal level, what is it that you would say to young people in our team that are looking for inspiration to fire up at this time, or our clients? What do you think they should be doing and thinking at the moment?
Yeah, in my industry, a home loan's a home loan, for example. It's everyone's selling the same home loan products. They have the same credit criterias. They have the same service from the banks. What differentiates them is the service in which they can provide. So it's this whole unique selling proposition, this USP that you've got to work out for yourself, what you provide that someone else doesn't. What is your unique selling proposition that you have that the next person doesn't have? Because let me tell you, like from my industry, as soon as that person gets to the front door of the customer's home, so to speak, everyone's got the same products. Everyone's got the same, branding. Everyone's got the same credit criteria. So what are you going to do that's above and beyond that's going to make the customer feel safe, smart, and special, which is my 3 values of my business: safe, smart, and special. So for us, it's saying, okay, how can you make the customer feel even safer that they're dealing with you, smarter that they're dealing with you, and more special that you're in their life and that they're dealing with you. So those three values three values in which my people must build their plan and their unique selling proposition upon. If they can actually win and they can build their value system upon those three words, and they can clearly articulate what they mean by that, they will get the deal and they'll get a happy customer every time for life.
Yeah, it's great. So for all of our listeners out there, I hope you've persisted through my bad questioning. But there's the price of a season's ticket there. If you're in a business and you can make your customer feel safe, smart, and special, you are going to make a difference for that client. It's going to make a difference for your business. So, James, what are you seeing specifically now in terms of the industries that are being affected by the crisis, and your view as to what happens after this?
There's a lot of wait and seeing. I mean, we're in uncharted territory, as you know, here. Everyone's in uncharted territory across the planet. I mean, 90 days ago, could you imagine us saying, now listen, this is where the planet's going to be in 90 days? None of us would have bet on that. The whole economy's shutting down. It's just crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it that counts, right? And I think that the government, as a general rule, has done a very solid job to date. The Australian government, the scoreboard doesn't lie. So far, they've done a bloody good job. So far. Now it's a matter of opening up and getting us through this and getting us out of this appropriately. The consumers, mums and dads, the Australian public, they're the ones that have really made this happen. And so far, they've done the great job. They're the ones that have actually listened. They've been compliant, as a general rule. And they've all basically taken this whole piece, we're in this together, seriously. So far as a country, as a society, we've done the right thing. There's been a lot more hurt out there than what people understand. And because people have been probably closed up in their homes and sort of, worrying about themselves in particular to get through this, they haven't really looked out to see what's happening out there. But, Brett, there's a lot of small businesses out there that have really hurt and are hurting, and that I'm really fearful of, and I'm fearful that they won't get out the other side, successfully. The government's thrown money at everyone, thrown as much money as we can for a country like us. I'm hoping it's going to the right people in the right ways, but we're certainly way from being out of the woods yet. These small business owners just need to hang on, I think, for a bit longer. I think we're just starting to see the country open up slowly. I just heard Victoria's just starting to open up their state as well slowly. It would take many, many weeks for that to come to fruition. And even in a month or two's time, there still won't be liberal international travel. There still won't be liberal mass gatherings. There still will be a different climate until a vaccine is actually found. But at least hopefully it'll be a lot more workable than it is today. I think that people today should be working on their businesses, working on their comeback plan. They shouldn't just be sitting there waiting for, okay, well, next week, next month, whatever it is, I just open my doors. What are they going to do? How are they going to open their doors? How are they going to celebrate opening their doors? How are they going to make sure that their catcher's mitt is bigger than the next person's catcher's mitt? That they have a plan for opening. What's their plan for success? What are they going to do that's different? Are customers just going to go back to the same old business, or are customers going to go back to a refreshed, new and exciting business, a different business that's on a next level to what they had left going to? Now, if that operator is not willing to do that, the next person will. So once again, you go back to that unique selling proposition. If you're not going to make the customer feel safe, smart and special, and the same with your team members and employees, someone else will. So be careful. So it's really trying to make sure you get on your skates and have a plan of attack.
Yeah, very cool. There's been a lot of people over the last 5 years use the word disruption. It's one of those. It's like unprecedented. It's been heavily used. We're copying a little bit of disruption at the moment. It's interesting to see people's response when it's an external event.
Yeah,
Quite
I mean,
interesting.
this is one hell of a disruption, though. I mean, it's this is It's certainly. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. I mean, to have a scale where this is. I mean, everyone's going through the same thing from here to Antarctica. I mean, it's extraordinary stuff.
Yeah.
So it's something in which is a massive wake up call for everyone to know that this sort of stuff can happen and does happen. To know that having a plan B and a plan C is really, really important. I think we went for many decades without copping any serious financial hits as a country, and this is the first financial hit of this sort of nature that we've seen in a very long time. And I think it reminds people, as a business, you've got to obviously build your business safely and allow for things like this to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you attribute the strength of the Aussie business being very much? I do remember John saying to me once that he never really felt he got paid for maybe a decade or more because of the nature of how an annuity business builds up, and then the reality of reinvesting to grow out the next level of infrastructure to capture the next level of opportunity. It's not a short-term business. It probably takes 20 years to be an overnight success. Do you think that the DNA of starting in a recession, having that long-term view has very much insulated you guys to a degree?
Look, I think being in business for so long helps. I think being in business for so long helps, and I think being born out of adversity has helped us. We're a business with no debt. We're a business that is strongly profitable. We have a business that is ultimately very conservative by nature, and that's helped us a lot. And that's made us, we've been very open to opportunities during times like this. And I talk about never let a good crisis go to waste. Whenever there's been a general crisis, we've normally benefited from it. I mean, for example, last time we had the GFC, we were in a position to purchase one of our key competitors, Wizard, and we purchased Wizard and about 90 odd of their branches at the time, and brought them across and Aussified them and incorporated them within the Aussie business and built a bigger, better Aussie because of it. And this is an example how we took advantage at the time of a struggling situation, and we were in a very strong position to be able to benefit from it.
Yeah. Do you see opportunities in the market right now?
You betcha.
Absolutely. Or where do you see opportunities?
Oh, look, Brett, over the next 3, 6, and 9 months' time, unfortunately, there will be a number of operators who will struggle to keep their heads above the water. And one of the key things in our industry is regulation, and regulation costs money. Having people aboard, and in our case, I mean, just 5 years ago, we had 2 people in our team who focused on regulation. We're a little mortgage broker. Today, we have nearly 30 people on our team who just focus on regulation. Now, that's a lot of people to carry. But we can do that because of our business model, our brand, the amount of business we write, etc. In our business, you're either large and nationwide, and you get your economies of scale, or you're small and state-based and specialised. Those players in between are going to struggle. They're struggling today. So they're the ones that will either have to merge, or they'll have to be acquired, or they'll have to have an event of some sort because they can't keep going as they're going. They'll hang on for a while, but it'll become tougher and tougher. So I think there will be opportunity for mergers and acquisitions for all players in our industry.
Yeah, I think that's true. Now, it'd be remiss of me, having one of the biggest mortgage writers in the country right here, not to ask you, what's your view of the property market, residential and other commercial?
Yeah, my goodness, if I knew, I would.
You got your crystal glasses on. You got your crystal ball.
Yeah, look, you would have to say, firstly, I mean, property has always been a safe haven for Australians. So property's always been a very strong asset for mums and dads. So if you look at the residential property market, I think that it will continue on being a solid investment moving forward. Will it cop some hits and will it go down 5% or 10%? Maybe, probably, but it's increased by 5 or 10% just in the last 18 months alone. So the last 5 years it's gone up by 70%. The last 8 years it's doubled. So it can't just keep on doubling every 7 years or what have you. I mean, for it to take a breather and come back 5 or 10% is not unhealthy. It's not unhealthy. But so I think that the residential property market, the mum and dad property market, will always be good stuff. It'll always be a good buy, especially right now when interest rates are so low. You go and get yourself an average home across the different states and get yourself a medium home loan. It costs just as much for the mortgage as it would for you to rent the property. Purchasing the property, if you're in the position to do so, is a lot more viable. So I think that the residential property market, the mum and dad market, will continue to be solid, in particular when interest rates are so low. The prestige residential property market, I think, will probably be hit a little bit more, and I think the commercial market is going to be hit as well. Once you start playing with rentals, once you start having people not pay rent, once people start to pay less rent, it changes the dynamics of the value of a commercial property. And so those properties, especially the larger ones, will probably have, a reshaping in terms of their value in the short to medium term. But if you look at the long-term outlook on property, on bricks and mortar, it's always been a very strong asset in Australia. It's had its hits. The big difference today and the market today versus a recession that you would have yesterday or the GFC we had 10 years ago, what have you, is that rates are so low. Rates are so workable. You get a $500,000 home loan for a mum and dad, and it's going to cost the same for that $500,000 to pay off that $500,000 home loan as it would for them to rent an average, 3-bedroom house.
Probably even less.
Probably even less. That's right. So that's the different dynamic we're dealing with today. Are these historic low interest rates, whereas the recession that we were born out of in 1992, interest rates were 17%. Chalk and cheese. Today, I can get your interest rates down to, mid 2%. Extraordinary stuff for the average mum and dad.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I want to thank James for his time today. I always ask a question of everyone I interview, James. It's a question without notice. If there's a motto or a quote or a thought that best summarizes your approach to life, what would it be?
You could have given me some sort of notice for this.
Yeah, I know. I should have. Don't waste a crisis.
Yeah, you know what? I think that, the mottos that I have, or the different quotes, I love quotes, and I love inspirational quotes. And I think that I have different quotes for different times. Yeah. And I think that one, never let a good crisis go to waste, for these times is a pretty good one.
It's a good mantra.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one to understand what you're doing with your business. If you come out of this doing the same things today as you were doing yesterday, you've missed one hell of an opportunity. I'm hoping everyone here, everyone that watches you, every one of your customers is looking at their business saying, how can I do things differently? How can I come out of this differently, better, faster, hungrier? What is my opening plan? How can I offer my customers even more in the next week's time, month's time, 3 months' time, as the reins are loosened on this whole COVID piece? Because if you're not doing that, your competitor is going to, and he's just going to, blast you out of the water.
Yeah, great place to end. I really want to thank James for his time. He's been a huge encouragement and inspiration to me over time. Very generous with his knowledge. I think everyone that watches this show will pick that up and hugely benefit. So thanks, James. Thanks so much, Jamie.
Thanks, Brett. Good on you, pal.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Be Better Off Show. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts.
Have a great day.